Here's something nobody tells you about the start of World War I. The part everyone knows. An archduke got assassinated, alliances kicked in, Europe went to war. Fine. But the actual sequence of events is so absurd, so dependent on random chance and human incompetence, that if you saw it in a movie script, you'd say it was too unrealistic. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, rolled into Sarajevo in an open-top car. Waiting for him were 6 separate assassins, spaced out along the route, all part of the same plot, all working independently, all terrified, and, this is important, all pretty bad at their jobs. The first guy froze completely and didn't even try. The second guy threw a bomb. It bounced off the folded back roof of the Archduke's car, rolled underneath the vehicle behind it, and exploded there instead, injuring people in the wrong car entirely. The bomber then swallowed a cyanide pill and jumped into a river to avoid capture. The cyanide was expired and just made him vomit. The river was 4 inches deep. He was fished out, alive, humiliated, and immediately arrested. Everyone else on the route lost their nerve or missed their moment. The plot, by every reasonable measure, had failed. So the Archduke did what any reasonable person would do after surviving an assassination attempt. He continued with his public schedule. He gave a speech. Then he decided to visit the hospital to check on the people injured in the bombing. Nobody told the driver about the change of route. The driver took the original path, turned onto a street he wasn't supposed to be on, was told he'd made a mistake, and stopped the car to reverse. Directly in front of a delicatessen, where one of the original 6 assassins, a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, happened to be standing. He hadn't planned this. He was just getting a sandwich. Historians still debate whether it was actually a sandwich shop, but the detail has become part of the story for a reason. The point stands either way. It was pure random proximity. Princip stepped forward, drew a pistol, and fired twice at point-blank range. Both the Archduke and his wife, Sophie, were killed within the hour. One wrong turn, one bad piece of luck, and that's the spark that's usually credited with starting a war that would kill somewhere between 15 and 20 million people. Except, and this is the part that actually matters, the assassination alone didn't start anything. What started the war was what happened next. An entire continent's worth of countries, bound together by a web of treaties nobody had fully thought through, got dragged into a conflict none of them individually wanted, one domino at a time. And once the first domino fell, nobody knew how to stop the rest.
Here's how one assassination in one city turned into the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the assassination, reasonably, since the plotters were Serbian nationalists with ties to Serbian intelligence. So Austria-Hungary drafted an ultimatum. 10 demands, deliberately harsh, deliberately close to impossible, because the goal wasn't actually to resolve things peacefully. The goal was to have an excuse for war. Serbia, to everyone's genuine surprise, agreed to nearly all 10 demands. Not all of them, nearly all of them. Austria-Hungary declared war anyway. Historians are divided on whether Austria-Hungary would have found any answer acceptable. Most lean toward no. Now, here's where the alliance system turns this from a regional dispute into a world war. Russia had promised to protect Serbia, so Russia began mobilizing its army. Germany had promised to back Austria-Hungary, so when Russia mobilized, Germany saw a Russian army gathering on its border and declared war on Russia. France had a defensive alliance with Russia, so Germany, expecting France to join in, declared war on France too, before France had even done anything yet. And here's the part that turns a two-front problem into a full European catastrophe. Germany's plan for fighting France fast, before Russia could fully mobilize, required marching an army straight through neutral Belgium. Belgium said no. Germany invaded anyway. Britain had signed a treaty decades earlier guaranteeing Belgium's neutrality, a treaty so old that some in the British government had genuinely forgotten it existed until someone dug it up during the crisis. But it was still legally binding, so Britain declared war on Germany. Within about 5 weeks, a single assassination in a Balkan capital had pulled in Austria-Hungary, Serbia, Russia, Germany, France, Belgium, and Britain. And that's before you even count the colonial empires each of those countries dragged in behind them, which meant troops from India, Australia, Canada, Africa, and beyond were now part of a European quarrel most of them had never heard of 2 months earlier. It would be 4 years before it ended, and almost nobody who cheered that day understood what they were actually cheering for. Here's where the jokes stop. Because what happened between 1914 and 1918 wasn't a war in the way anyone marching off that summer understood the word. It became something new. An industrial-scale killing machine that nobody's strategy, training, or imagination had prepared for. Within months, the war on the Western Front stopped moving. Both sides dug trenches, long, muddy, disease-ridden scars across France and Belgium, and stayed there, essentially unmoving, for years. Armies would spend months and hundreds of thousands of lives fighting over a few miles of shattered ground, only to lose it again in the next offensive. At the Battle of the Somme in 1916, the British Army suffered close to 60,000 casualties on the first day alone. Not over the course of the battle, on the first day. The battle itself lasted months and produced over 1 million casualties combined between both sides, for a total advance of roughly 6 miles. At Verdun, fought the same year, the two sides suffered an estimated 700,000 casualties, fighting over a fortress town neither side particularly needed, in a battle explicitly designed by the German High Command to bleed France white. A war of attrition, where the goal wasn't territory, it was simply killing enough of the enemy that they'd break first. New weapons made all of this exponentially worse. Machine guns turned advancing infantry into a statistic. Chemical weapons, chlorine gas, then mustard gas, were used for the first time in large-scale warfare, killing and maiming soldiers in ways so horrific that even commanders on both sides were disturbed by what they'd unleashed. Artillery bombardments were so constant and so massive that soldiers described the ground itself as never truly being silent for years. By the time the war ended in November 1918, somewhere between 15 and 20 million people were dead, soldiers and civilians combined, and another 20 million wounded. An entire generation of young men across Europe was, in the language of the time, simply gone. And it started, not caused, but started, with a wrong turn down a street in Sarajevo, and a 19-year-old who happened to be standing in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong moment.